Hello everyone and welcome to Ginger Prime. My name is Brian, and if you're already subscribed here, what's up, Soul Nation? That's what you get, an extra greeting in this video. So we're going to dive into Content Creation 101. Over the past several years, creating content for Work to Game and Ginger Prime, many have come to me and I've done a lot of one-on-one sit-downs looking over analytics, showing them my analytics, deep diving into the process and sharing basically my 3 rules for content creation. And that's what this video is going to cover. We're going to give you everything that I've given them in a one-on-one session in this video, and there's going to be a lot to cover. So if you're coming back to this video and you're looking for a specific spot, maybe you want to jump to the end where I cover certain things about video editing, check the playhead of this video. If this is your first watch through, I ask that you please at least not skip the first section talking about my 3 rules. That's going to apply a lot of context to everything else this video covers. I think it's actually the most important thing, but I'll let you be the judge of it. Now, I'm a dad, I'm a gamer, and I'm a content creator. I do not do this full time. However, I have been blessed by each and every one of you who felt like they've, I've earned their subscription by hitting subscribe. And so I want to give back. In fact, if this video teaches you anything, if you learn anything at all that benefits you in your content creation in your community, pay it forward. I said, play it forward. Pay it forward. You don't owe me anything. This is for you. I want you to take what works, because maybe some of this stuff is not going to work specifically for you and what you're trying to build and what your goals are as a streamer or a producer or video creator here on YouTube. And so this is actually going to be applicable to everything. I went and looked at a lot of guides before sitting down and writing this and looking at it and saying just how wrong I felt all the other advice was out there on the internet. And this is going to be the harshest thing I'm going to tell you right at the start of this video, and I need you to hear it. If you're streaming to like audiences of less than 25 people, please stop streaming and focusing on video editing. Most people have come back and said, but I don't know how to edit videos, or you might not be comfortable editing and posting videos. I'm going to ask you at least for a couple weeks to take a couple classes, YouTube videos, or here on YouTube. There's other resources available. I personally am making a new channel called Prime University that's going to be focusing on content creation and programming because it's the 2 things that I love and do the most, and to help out with that aspect. So look forward to that in the future, but obviously there's plenty of stuff online. And in this video, I'm going to show you some of my tips and tricks, kind of how I go about laying out my videos to overall improve their performance and my process and how to get them done as quickly as I can in order to be timely, but also just to hopefully have the best video possible. There's a lot to dive in and cover in this guide, and so I do thank you for checking it out. And with that intro out of the way, let's dive into a high-level overview of my 3 rules for content creation. Welcome to part 1. I really hope you enjoy this section. I think it's the most important out of everything I'm sharing with you guys today. So the rules are, it's not about you. How is this discoverable? And what about you? What about this is interesting to me? And so first, it's not about you. It's all about direction in terms of how you're focusing your attention. If you're making videos, if you're doing live streams to get the attention, that's perfectly fine. We've seen plenty of creators blow up with that. But at the same time, typically when creators blow up and the attention is all about them getting attention, you see it typically with begging for subs and all kinds of things that the internet generally disagrees with. Doesn't matter. That's going to be a fast track way. Negative attention is still attention, and unfortunately, that's a part and a reality that we have to deal with. I do not recommend that. I don't think it's something that you're going to enjoy or it's going to help you sleep good at night, but rather, if you make it not about you, if you make the attention not about you, which I know seems a little bit awkward. I'm talking to a camera right now. You're watching me right now. I'm therefore getting attention. But if I make this outward facing and focus it on you or the game or the content, or also make sure I shout out other creators, that in of itself is pointing outward. I don't do this for me. I do this because I enjoy creating content and hopefully can give you guys something. So I always ask myself, what kind of gift am I giving the viewer? What am I giving them? Am I teaching them something? Am I informing them about something? Am I sharing them with them a story? Something, whether it's motivating or something we can bond on so that you don't necessarily feel so alone, especially in this online world that we live in today. I look at trying to make every video a gift. And sometimes I do this successfully. I'm not asking you to always be successful with this rule, but it's essentially if you set your context in your mind right in terms of the content that you're making, it's that important. And I think you're going to see a great success because people are going to respond to that because you're giving them something. You're not asking them to subscribe. You're saying if you earned their subscription, and it should be. It's a trust that they're putting in you and in your content and in your content schedule. And it's that I think is the most important. And that's actually why it's rule number one. Because again, if you make it all about yourself, I think that comes across in the videos. And even though you might, succeed by it, I'm not saying that you won't. I don't know. It just kind of feels empty. And at the end of the day, you're the person who has to, you have to sleep with yourself. You got to wake up and you got to be okay with everything that you're doing. So anyway, I just try to encourage that the world is just crazy and crappy enough. And I'm not trying to be preachy here by any means. Sometimes I feel like I can come across that way, especially when I talk about this. But at the end of the day, that's my focus. And I usually try to shout out other creators, put a real focus in on the game that I'm excited about, or try to inform them either via news or guides. That's because naturally I like to teach. Guides might not be your thing. And this doesn't mean you need to make guides, but you just have to think of what about this is going to be good for the viewer? What about this is going to be good for the person who's actually clicked to watch this video that I've made? The second part is discoverability, and this is really where it comes into play. Discoverability is very important. Let me just pull up YouTube real quick. If you search for how to bake a cake, and you do not title your video how to bake a cake, that's one part of discoverability. The other side of it is that what are people searching for? You can get a general idea about this based off of what you're searching for. So if you're excited about a specific game, if you want more information about that specific game, this also ties into rule number 3. What are you, what excites me? Essentially, if you're asking yourself that, that'd be what excites you. Sorry for the pronouns, I think, a little weird in that regards. But if you're like saying like, hey, I'll pick on PSO2, how to level up fast. If that's something that you might be interested in, that's going to be the case. And so if you look at like what is being returned in the search, this is equally as important. And this kind of ties into titling, and this also ties into how you do your thumbnail. Your video, whenever you do a search or whenever you just come here and look at the home screen, you're going to see several videos that are going to pop up. Your video is going to be competing with these other videos for that person to click on. They're going to maybe scroll for a little bit, and then they might do a search, or they might try trending, or they might look at their subscriptions if they're specifically looking for something important. That's why it's also important to also remind people to actually hit that notification bell. I think YouTube made that change last year, and that ends up going a long way. But beyond the notification bell, your title and thumbnail need to stand out. And you can do this in a variety of ways. And actually on screen right now, you can see multiple different styles that people have chosen to use. You got Zach here, and he's just not even doing anything with this thumbnail, but he's got enough volume in and of itself that people are going to recognize that, click on it, and more. So you can see here an example we have for Work to Game, how we lay it out with the color scheme. If I pull up my own file here, Photoshop, and show off my own thumbnail, you can see how I work with the different layers. But discoverability is more about just standing out. It's about creating and focusing the video, especially when you're small. When it comes down to your opinion, and I hope I don't sound too harsh when I say this, is that your opinion matters. But until you give your viewers, until you give your community something, until you start getting subscribers who are actually generally interested in what you think about a specific game or not, it becomes very difficult. Reviews are a great way to focus in on discoverable content. So if I just go ahead and pull up my last Photoshop document here, I'm going to show you guys my thumbnail and how I have it laid out, and different ways that we go about it. So you can see here, I do a lot of color schemes. When you look at the videos that show up on my channel, and I'll go ahead and pull that up while we're here in the background. And then I'll go through that, and so let that load and pull up Photoshop. I've got different layers in which that I can do different images. I can turn on and off different things. I've got some licensed images because I use this sometimes for work. So I'm able to go and grab different thumbnails, and you can see that as a part of the thumbnail that you're looking at right now. If I go ahead and open up a different type, because I have multiple different versions of the same thumbnail. Let's see here, not the podcast, but if I look at, let me go in here, and into, let's say, news, Ginger News in this case, you'll see that I color the bar and the colors there red. So if you go to my home page, while that loads up the document, and I look at my videos here, ideally you'll start to see a theme in how I color code the videos so they can stand out as a part of my community, and what kind of content I like to focus in on, news and guides, because again, I like and really enjoy making guides. You might not be in that boat, but you want to create content that people want to search for. Typically that ends up being guides, that typically is reviews, that could be news. But when it comes down to being a news channel, you have to be fast. And if you're not somebody who's able, like myself, to work from home and work remote, that can be a challenge to deliver the news in a timely fashion. And thus you might end up playing, a little catch up. That there's a strength in that too. So if you're not able to deliver news timely, you can always take a kind of a sit back approach, because there's sometimes drama that's wrapped up into it. And honestly, drama is really exhausting, and I wouldn't recommend getting into it, namely because it's very fleeting. It comes with a lot of spikes, and you'll see that somewhat in my data. I don't do drama, but at the end of the day, you'll start to see how people are interested. There's a heightened idea with that. But the other things that people don't take into account, and while sometimes you'll hear YouTubers say the algorithm's working against them, and they could, sometimes there's bugs, and when YouTube makes changes, you can see like how things shift and gets prioritized. But at the end of the day, are people interested in what you're creating content on? Are a lot of people making content? Like I posted a Minecraft video, Minecraft Dungeons. I love it. A lot of people are making Minecraft content, and if there's a big enough viewership that's hungry for that kind of content, it can support a lot of people making content all at once. Ultimately, you'll see ebbs and flows in terms of content itself. Phantasy Star will dive into the stats here in a second. You'll see what that looks like as interest peaks and as interest kind of settles down into the 3 seasons of content creation, which are hype, grind, and, forgive the expression, bitch. It's where people essentially hype it up, where they work it out, and then essentially they're mad at it because they've consumed all the content at a normal pace. But beyond that, just take a look here at my home screen. You can see blue I use for guides, green I use for opinion, yellow I use for reviews. I don't do many reviews. I kind of like to focus more on guides. Red is news. Pink in this case is live streams and stuff like that. So that's kind of how that all breaks down, and hopefully that starts to make sense. And then within the thumbnail itself, I like to work with different layers. I like to group things and group different images. So if I wanted to turn off this, I could turn on like Crucible, I could turn off PSO2, turn on some memes, and kind of group my content and my my thumbnail. And so I save these files so I can hopefully easily, quickly turn around the thumbnail and make it less about the amount of work. But the thumbnail, again, is important because just jumping here to my home screen, you can see like what videos am I going to recommend. And hands down, outside of searching and then somebody recommending your video, especially like a website or somebody who's large, you're going to get most of your views from browse. If your video isn't showing up here on the home page, it's dramatically going to reduce the amount of time or the ability for somebody to see it. You might find a creator that you specifically go to. Let's say if I want to scroll down, it looks like PewDiePie's live. Say Anamana, great PSO2 creator. By the way, if you guys haven't checked out his channel, please do. Fantastic guy. So anyway, like seeing that, unless his videos were showing up on my home screen, I have to specifically go and do another step. There's people out there who will do it, but I can tell you based off the numbers alone, the vast majority of people are going to sit down and just going to focus in on what's showing up on their home screen or what ends up being suggested. Those are 2 ways that people can help discover your content. And that's going to be that then you got to focus in on stuff that you care about. Rule number 3, what about all of this excites you? A couple of weeks ago, like people have asked like, hey, I would love it if you covered more news and more stuff within the gaming industry, like a jack of all trades kind of channel. And I said, like, that sounds like fun if this was like a full-time gig, but it's not. And because it's not, I'm going to focus in on the stuff that I actually really care about, so that, if I actually post a video on it, I actually really am excited about it. And that's really important, because at the end of the day, if I'm not excited about it, it's going to come across in the video. You're going to know. And so don't be a jack, like don't try to cover everything under the sun that's exciting. Even if you're not excited about it, don't talk about it. If you are excited about it, post about it, see what works, see what kind of plays out and what people respond to. Especially when you're small, the strengths are you can kind of do a lot of different things. You can experiment with your style and how you deliver it. But again, at the root of it, be excited about it. Be happy for what you're sharing. And if you apply rule number 1 and number 2, like making it not about you and about the information, or giving the viewer like, this is cool and this is why it's cool and this is the thoughts here, And then the discoverability, whether is it searchable, is it shareable? Shareable is another category I didn't really touch on. That could be comedy, that could be in how you deliver it, that could be in how you edit it. Do you use memes? Do you use jokes? Your style needs to be your style, and I can't unfortunately help you with that. That's something that you're going to discover as you work through the content. And so those are the 3 rules. And with those 3 rules in place, then let's talk about my stats and what I'm looking for, and just the numbers themselves. So you can see right now my home screen and my dashboard looks at the ultimate speed build for this is up. It's obviously performing as my ranking of 10 by 10. Not a huge Minecraft community here at Ginger Prime, and that's okay. I post this because I like this game, and hopefully this will help somebody out. I enjoy some builds. I've got some other ideas for videos for this game, and it really excites me. And then also, most people have discovered me through the excitement of Phantasy Star Online 2, which just released, and we're also waiting for like more updates and more. So these are games that I love and I'm passionate about, and what I've kind of tried to theme Ginger Prime around is the action RPG. Not a specific game, like I don't want to be a PSO 2 channel. I would rather be like PSO in general channel, that'd be cool. But action RPGs, things that I'm excited about it. Outriders, there's a lot of future games that I'm excited about it. And this also applies, like when you think of rule number 3, it could be a game that's already out. It could be a game that you're excited about that's coming down the line that not a lot of people are covering. Especially if a lot of people aren't making video content around it, that gives you a lot of room to be able to kind of like make a space for yourself and increase your chances of being discoverable. Because if other people are out there are interested in it, and you're the only person who's actually talking about it, well, then you find kind of a match made in heaven, and people are going to discover your videos. And the question is then, do they become subscribers to your channel, and how do you get that conversion over? And I'm going to tell you right now, it's incredibly low. Like, the fact that it's still, like, if I just go to my analytics, and you can see here, if I go I don't like the term audience, I like the term community. And if I just sit here and say, like, let's say 2020, this year alone, over 10,000 subscribers since the beginning of this year. And obviously there are peaks and valleys that come along with content creation, and that's something you really can't control. You can't make up news. I would not recommend clickbaiting, even though no matter what you do, you will be accused of clickbaiting, because somebody, it's going to always be up to the viewer's interpretation of whether you are over sensationalizing or you're just being too excited. It's common. Like, I wouldn't let it worry you, but obviously don't try to create something deceptive to get people to come watch your videos. But you can see here, like, that's a lot of subscribers, like hands down a lot of subscribers. If I look over though the course of this year alone, this is great, like 1.3 million views. So, and then if we look at unique views, I think that's maybe under engagement. You can see my revenue here at 3,400. Thank you guys very much. It means a lot. It's not a lot of money. Like, that could be life changing for some. And roughly it boils down to 400 or 500 with some, some exceptions where it spikes. But you can see here with the money, like for me, you're helping me make sure my kids go to the dentist. We don't have health insurance. You're helping me afford games here and there. You're helping me do different things with my family. So you really support my family with this, but there's no way a family of 4 can live off of that kind of money a year. So just keep in mind, like, if you're looking at, like, maybe this is just like a career move, like you want to go full time, at 10,000, it's not it. Even with work to game at 56,000, it's nowhere close to the amount of money that you need to support a family. If you're single, maybe you can do it. Maybe if you're living in a very rural part of the world, I don't know. But if you think about it, let's see here. I was looking for unique views, and they're not totaling it as a part of that. So 1.3 million. So if you think of that many views, and then how many subscribers at 10,000, which is incredible. I'm not knocking it. Yeah, don't be upset that people are watching your videos and not subscribing. Typically a viewer, somebody who, before they want to join your community, tends to watch a couple of videos. They might watch a handful to see if you're covering the games that they're interested in. Do they like your style? Do they like your approach? And that's going to be where it's at. And so note that, that's fine. And they might even bounce out. We can jump into advanced mode later, and I can show you some things that are always interesting to me overall. So traffic type sources, you can see here for 2020, 34.5% of my views came from browsing right here. YouTube search, 31.1%. Suggested videos, 21.7%. external channel pages. So if you think of somebody going to your channel to see your videos, overall, like, yes, 1.3 million to 2.8%. Yeah, that's quite significant, but look where the views are coming from. This is your discoverability. This is where that's coming from. Channel pages, others could be any kind of like we could probably drill into external and more. Oh, good. Here it is. Google search, YouTube and Google. Who would have thought? You can see YouTube, Forbes.com, referenced a couple of my videos. Thank you, Forbes. Thank you very much for those references. Reddit itself, Facebook itself, and those were those coming from. From a social media discoverability perspective, be sure that you're tweeting out your video. Be sure you're linking in Facebook. You never know what kind of connections you're going to have. And you never know really how somebody's going to discover your videos. At the end of the day, I'm always like, it really always excites me as to how people say they discovered my video. Hey, it came from this creator recommended you, or your video showed up and I thought the thumbnail was great. And so you clicked and you got your attention. At the end of the day, for me, YouTube isn't recommending creators to me. People, I'm not discovering creators through that. It always comes from like the real interactions that we have with each other. Like, have you seen Xandri? Have you seen SkillUp? Have you seen ACG? Have you seen Linux? Like, I'm totally butchering his channel name. I just discovered it. Fantastic creator. Have you seen DeathMonkeyXL, Nightmare Demon? Have you seen these creators that are out there? Have you seen Chili, who's posting 14 content? Have you seen Mr. Happy? Have you seen at this, have you seen Larry? Like, it's like, have you seen these guys? You should check them out for all these different reasons. And I do apologize. There was a long list of creators that I'm just rattling off the top of my head. There are many, many more people that I follow hunting for games. Even Mioni, like with the 14 content world. There's so many, like we also talked about Anamana here. There's even more. And I know, and I apologize, they're just not coming to my mind at this time. But that's really where recommendations come in and where I actually subscribe and watch videos on the regular with that personal introduction. So again, when I say pay it forward, like, recommend people to people, like if there's somebody you like, let me know about them. Like, I really am very curious. I don't care about like, I don't know, maybe there's some kind of social thing within YouTube that I never caught on to. I think, if you have somebody you like, you should share them. And same thing with you. Like, don't be afraid to share yourself or talk about yourself or what you have to offer, because especially at the beginning, get your mom to watch your video, get your dad, get your kids, get your dog. I don't care. Just, hey, check out my videos. And that's going to help because watch time is going to be important. We'll cover that here more in a second. So then you can kind of see what's being searched here. So Anthem seems to be quite large, PSO2, and Trials of Mana, like all action RPGs. That's what I want to cover. That's what I love to play. That's where I get the enjoyment. And so it comes down to me as a content creator over the last couple of years, focusing in on, do I really need to talk about that? Do I really need to make a video about that? And the more I can tell myself no, the better. And in fact, maybe what we'll do in another video, we can talk about when to multi-channel, when to create another channel that's focusing on something you're interested in, because maybe the algorithm itself isn't necessarily working for you. If we look at engagement, this is watch time and average view duration. You can kind of see how it's trending. This is going to be like the more things that people watch, obviously watch time is going to be a heavily rated thing, and that's going to be what then YouTube uses to recommend your videos. That does not mean making a video exceptionally long. That does not mean taking your video and saying it is now 5 hours when it needs to be 5 minutes. This video is going to be a longer video. My voice is already starting to crack, so I'm going to take a sip of water. I'm going to focus this a little bit more casual. This is what I do with one-on-one. So you're getting the real one-on-one experience except for this is pre-recorded. So anyway, so you can see like with watch time, equally important. Now for me, what I like to do is that I like to, for a news post, I like to share the information, and then I like to share a little bit about my opinion. And if it falls into something I want to, talk about, then I'm going to go and post it. If it doesn't, maybe I'll talk about it on a live stream. Maybe there's another avenue in which that can be kind of put into play or put into practice. And that's just the reality of it. You need to kind of figure out what that balance is. For guides, they can run anywhere from 12 minutes to 30 minutes. It really just depends on the information that I think is most critical to get out there and in front of people. Obviously, again, like if you can get in, you can get out. Does it need to be multiple videos, or does one video make the most sense? You're going to find and establish that comfort level with you in that regards. Anyway, then playlists, cards, end screens, all of this is equally important. Less so than the 3 roles. So now if we go jump in here to audience, let's just go focus in on the last 28 days. You can see here unique viewers at 200,000. Average view per viewer, they're checking out more of my videos, 2.1 in this case. and I have it's 170% increase. So 2,700 subscribers over the last 28 days alone. So thank you so much. My bells right here. So out of that, the people who have hit that bell notification is at 11.4%. And the typical on YouTube tends to be 10 to 30. So I'm trending a little higher here. On Work to Game, we're trending a little lower. Reminding people to hit like and to ring the bell can be annoying. Some people will say it's annoying. They don't like when YouTubers do it. However, just the numbers themselves alone show that people respond to it. Those call to actions really help. I'm always weirded out by it. I never feel comfortable being like, yeah, sub. So I've tried to turn it into jokes. I've tried to, like, for me, say, hey, if you're subbed, you get a compliment, or and it's more just trying to make me laugh and get a chuckle out of the awkwardness of saying, hey, please sub. And I'm not doing that. So you do this now. Not at all. It's uncomfortable. It doesn't matter what size you are, because I want to respect the viewer. I want to respect, them, and the option to click that button and come into the community. It is what it is in that regard. And then you can also see where your community is coming from, what gender and age ranges they are. So if anybody was like, hey, do you make a channel for kids? Not at all. Like right here, you can see 18 and up. The biggest span is 25 to 34 for me. And the gender breakdown is 95% male in this regards. And honestly, what I've seen other creators do, and it works. If you play a game and your character can be female and you're not, you can use screenshots of your character. That obviously drives eyes, that drives clicks, and that might seem, deceptive, or that might seem impractical. But at the end of the day, like being attractive is a key success element here. You don't need to be attractive to make YouTube videos. You can make the focus being on the gameplay or something else, but it just works. And so, like, if I was going to put up, like if I had the choice between like an attractive male or attractive female, I have to assume things about these, this 95% male, but I would say on the safe bet, flipping a coin, putting an attractive female on the thumbnail works. And it just works in that regards. And so there's nothing, I would say wrong with it. I'm not clickbaiting. Maybe put, as long as you're open and honest about it. That's just the reality of this in this regard. Let's look at revenue. So this is where a lot of people get confused, and why a lot of people, when it comes down to revenue in terms of YouTube, they don't understand it. Like, what's CPM? What is monetized playbacks? If we just throw this again back to a year's time, you look at over 1.3 million views, 715,000 of those are actually monetizable. The rest are just free views, and you got to do everything for free. Do everything for free. You can see 3,400, and so that's roughly almost 6 months worth of data. Yeah, we're in the 6th month now, so like take it to where you are. We're filming this, and I'm filming this in June, so keep that in mind. We're at 6 months. That's where it's at. Then again, the CPM. This is going to be kind of views per thousand, obviously assuming that it's monetized. And you can see right now for the last 28 days, $961, which is sending my kids to the dentist and paying for games and things like that. But most of that is baked into this spike with obviously the release of Phantasy Star Online 2. People are watching what class you should play. So you can see here $260 from that video. PSO2 getting started, $125. I find that guides also work better than reviews, because reviews are an opinion. Maybe I like this, maybe I didn't. I like to just sit here and this is what the game is. This is how you break it down. Here's what you need to know. Here's the different systems. I hope you go and check it out and let me know what you think, because again, that rule number one, it's not about me, it's about the game, or it's about you, or it's about whatever. Like, the only review that matters in reviews is your personal review. And occasionally you'll see me do a review, because when there is a paywall, that's kind of where it comes into play. You can check out a live stream, or you can check out somebody's review, and it's about is it worth the risk to jump over this paywall and more. So CPM there, 961. This also comes from, we turn on memberships. You can see YouTube, you break it out by ad, and then premium, those who pay for no ads. And then we were, somebody gave us an awesome tip. And so out of tips, I got $53.90. And then you can see here, 35 for super chat, channel memberships, are $18.90. So that's kind of what that is doing. And then you can see the type of ads that are broken down. Skippable ads usually make up the majority of ads that are played. Display, bumper, non-skippable, and non-skippable video ads reserved, etc. Like, and this is all going to fluctuate. If there was a lot, like back in January, like the CPMs were like in the 10s. So if the CPMs continued in the 10s for this range, like you could see this easily being something where you're like, wow, like that's real life. That could be life-changing money for you depending on your situation. And that's why I want to encourage you. Like, if you feel like you need to jump into this, please jump into this and let's do this thing and go from there. So now we come to reach as a part of the stats, so you can see 7.5 million impressions. So in this case, over the last 28 days, 7.5 times my video was on, or one of my videos was on display on somebody's browse, on search, or on, whatever. Like if YouTube ever put it up to where it was visible and loaded, it's going to count as an impression. My impression click-through rate at 3.7 is down 19%. And so you look at that, and that's how many times my video won, it got clicked out of the entire list of videos that were there. That accumulated into 425,000 views, which is up 77%. So 111%. More impressions equals more opportunities to get clicked. However, your impression click-through ratio is going to be namely about like when you put out a video and it goes out to your subscribers, like those are the people who are going to more like click on your video, and thus you'll see like a higher impression click through at the start of a video, and we'll dive into individual videos here in a second. And then as it goes out to the wider world, your impression click through is going to fall over time. So you can see here listed, typically it's hovering around 4%. This is also very much in line with what I see over at Work to Game, with even a larger community base there. And so we talked about reach, we talked about engagement, audience, revenue. It's trying to see if there's anything really cool that you can see listed here. We talked about kind of where traffic sources are coming from. So those are those analytics. Let's dive back into overview. I'm going to show you advanced mode real quick before we kind of dive into specific videos. Advanced mode is fantastic because this is going to be where you can start to learn and teach yourself different things about yourself. So if I go ahead and just say all, to channel, and if I want to compare my channel, let's just say, go ahead and pick on May, and I'll go ahead and compare it to April. So I can compare myself to myself and see exactly what is working the way I want. I don't like side by side. I like the multi-metric table. So it's going to tell me a couple of things. I try not to get too obsessed about this number. I do have, I am human, but I also like to see I like to see exactly what, what I'm doing, and if people like it, if people don't. A subscriber lost is going to happen. You can't put any thought into like oh, they don't like me or whatever. Maybe they subbed, maybe they're gone because they were a bot, or maybe you had a hot take and they didn't like it, and that's perfectly fine. I always look at a subscriber loss as an opportunity to win them back at some point in the future, and that's just trying to understand how everything kind of breaks down and goes from there. So you can see here, purple is April, and that's 450 to 528. That typically has been what Ginger Prime has produced every month in terms of revenue. I like to try to focus in on guides, which I love to make, but those are also typically evergreen style content. They're relevant. They're like somebody could be searching for them in 6 months, a year, 2 years time, depending on the game, and like if it still has like an active community base, they could be searched. And so you can go on vacation, you can take breaks, you can sleep, you don't always have to be live, and that's a concern we'll talk about when we get to that section of this video. And so you can see subscribers lost, subscribers gained month over month, and I can look at how things are playing out overall. So, you can see your total subscribers, but that's obviously gained minus lost in that regard. So that's kind of how those numbers break out, and you can see different things like that. And you can also, there's so much you can do here, breaking it down by like your traffic source, like where are people coming from, and how are they finding you, suggested videos, search, and more. So if I just kind of collapse that, like it really gives you a lot of detail. We'll pick on video because the other thing I want to show you, and this is just as you especially if you're brand new, start creating groups. And so if I pick on groups, let's say like news, and then if I go over here and pick on groups themselves, and let me say guides. So I got groups for guides and news. And so I add videos to these groups so that way I can kind of compare them. But obviously I would like to do a month, the same time period. What's the news posts doing? What are guides doing? News posts are relevant for a shorter period of time, but they're generally going to drive in more interest, quickly and go from there. So you can see here overall, like news and views. News in and of itself counts for less views, less watch time. Average view duration is shorter, impressions more. Click-through rate is higher though. And then guides themselves, you can see that, in this case, bigger discoverability equals more opportunity for views. Watch time is much higher. The average view duration is much higher. Impressions are much higher. Click rate's much lower because you can post a guide and people might not want to watch that right away, and that's fine. People are probably going to watch it when they search for it or search for something like that, or watch it down the road. Like news is usually like what's happening now. Guides are like, yeah, I'll get to that like when I need that. And so you kind of, like I like to do a kind of a mix of both personally, but that's just how I like to do it. And this just gives me more insight as to like, hey, where should I focus? You can even break it out by a couple different games and see like real numbers. If there's certain games that you're really enjoying and they're just not getting views, you can go look at the numbers and see like, well, like, is it the thumbnail? Like what's happening? Because the other side of all of this is that it's all about the viewer, right? If they're not interested in, Minecraft Dungeons, if no one cares about it, if no one cares about Crucible, like a real, like brand new game that came out, no one's playing it, no one's searching for that content, no one's interested in that content. And so you have that side of the equation where people will sometimes come and say, oh, YouTube's algorithm's killing my channel. It's like, maybe, no one's really actually interested in that game. All right, so now let's go ahead and jump in kind of real time. You can kind of see how this looks for me right now. At the time of this recording, almost 400 views an hour, and what this trends out at 48 hours, kind of a 2-day period. Like over the 2 days, this right now is getting around 5,000 views. And if I go and click on the little analytics, it's going to drive me into that video's analytics, and I can see its individual performance. Overall estimated revenue is just around $720. The number of subscribers that have grown from this at 1.9, and then you can see the individual stats based off of each one of these options. So the engagement, the audience, the revenue, and more. And so if you were like, why is this video performing well? What's going on with it? What's really interesting for me is that the majority of this video, like if I look at this line, the majority of people watch this actually video when I look at 40%, 40% up to 15.36. The majority of people overall is 42% of this video. I've always been told 50%. I rarely hit it because you never know what's ultimately interesting. But if you look at the audience retention in this case at 8 minutes, that represents 42% of the video. If you're getting anything above 50%, maybe your videos do need to tend to be a little bit longer because it tends to be like 50% when I look at Work to Game, Ginger Prime. I've talked to other people in this space. 50% seems to be the right amount for the view. You can see here, obviously, most videos all have this massive drop right in the first couple seconds. Whatever reason, click and click off. I don't know. Maybe they're coming in for comments. I honestly have no idea, but that is typical. And then there you can see how it trends down from there. So before we dive into video editing, kind of some tips on how you can overall improve your output, just making it easy. I know that seems to be a big holdup for a lot of people who want to get into content creation. They go streaming because they don't need to worry about video editing. They just kind of go live. They can set up like Streamlabs OBS is what I use. Might have to do some more guides, kind of breaking down different settings and things like that. If you're interested, let me know in the comments or hit me up on Twitter or Discord, etc. But what I'm getting at here is that Twitch, YouTube, Mixer, any streaming platform, it's in their interest because they don't care about you to burn you out. Like, honestly, if you're gonna put in thousands of hours in hopes that you're gonna grow without using any form of a discoverability engine like YouTube, they're gonna let you go. They're not gonna stop you. They're not gonna say, hey, you're doing it wrong. If you're streaming for 0 or 1 or 2, I've seen guides out there saying like nobody should ever stream for 0 viewers, and they were saying like, oh, it's discoverability. If you start to scroll, like no one's gonna sit here and scroll. No one's looking for somebody has got none viewers or 1 viewer or 2 viewers. Maybe occasionally you're going to get that, but unless these platforms, Mixer does a little bit better with its random like YouTube one, but I don't know their rules behind that. Mixer one or whatever it's called. But yeah, it's, and you have to just be, and you can, and I'm not going to sit here and say you cannot grow as a streamer. You totally can do that. But what I'm sitting here saying, especially if you've got a full-time job, especially if you got to go on vacation, if you want to have a family or already have a family, at the end of the day, if someone's saying that this is a viable thing, note that you're going to have to be in the top 100 of the streamers to make like crazy money. Otherwise, you're going to be dragging at the bottom of the barrel, and that's the reality of the situation. And it's not in their interest to care about you, and I think it's probably in your interest that they don't care about you. It means it gives you a lot more flexibility. That's why if you do not couple YouTube and some kind of discoverable content that you can say, hey, by the way, I stream here, or I do this, where it's kind of an invitation to ask more questions and have more of a one-on-one conversation in real time. If you grow and you do that, you need to go make a video and just focus in on it. Everything I see out there literally is that people who grow on Twitch are doing exactly what I'm telling you, but they'll go and create videos on how to grow on Twitch so that you search it and they come and find you that way. And that is how it works. I've seen DeathMonkey kind of made a video specifically about that, and I thought it was interesting because I was like, yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. They're creating discoverable content any way they can, and even if they're like no viewers, hey, here's how you grow on Twitch. And that, people search for it, they might find that video, they might subscribe, and then they might check out their Twitch and be like, hey, that was some really interesting insight. But at the end of the day, most of it is BS. And it really is, and it has me concerned. Not all of it, mind you, but the majority of it, especially from a busy gamer's perspective. If you have to take time off, if you're not streaming, any momentum you gain in that world can be lost. If you see a big growth because you got a new game, people are checking out the game to see if they want to get it. They're not necessarily checking out you, and that's the hardest reality, but it's the most truthful that I can be for you. And that's why this system, and I don't ever see myself going full time, nor would I want to, because I love programming and I love I love creating content, and I like to stream occasionally, but that's just my preference. Streaming is fun, it's engaging, it's exciting, and I don't want to discourage you from doing it. But like I said at the very top of this video, if you're streaming for less than 25 people on average, you should just stop streaming for like a week or two, go and spend some time learning some video editing software and start putting out and practicing those guides. Here's the reality of it. You're your worst nightmare when it comes to blocking yourself. You're going to make any kind of say, hey, I can't do this because I don't know how, or I'm not an expert, or I'm not, you're going to talk yourself out of making a video that somebody needs to see. You're going to talk yourself out of creating a video that's going to benefit somebody at the end of the day. And you have a unique voice and a perspective that you should share. And it's a hurdle. It's definitely one of the first major walls you have to get over, is knowing that you've experienced things that nobody else has, but you assume that everybody knows what you know, and that's just not true. So you obviously need to find your voice, and you need to get practice. The best thing is that if you don't have any subscribers, nobody cares. Like, nobody's going to sit here and judge you against that of somebody who's got 10 million subscribers and puts out professionally edited quality content, because he's got a team behind him helping to really kind of make those things stand out and whatnot. And plus, they got a community behind him that likes those videos. And the only way to get there is by starting where everybody starts, and that's right at the bottom, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of freedom. There's a lot of freedom in me creating Ginger Prime. At the end of the day, creating a new channel, being able to create the content and the style and coming up with what it means is exciting, and it's nerve-wracking. And especially for the first 1,000 subs and getting monetized, it can, like, coming from a channel that is monetized to a channel that's not, can be just, oh gosh, like, if I posted this on Work to Game, like, maybe this would do well and more people would see it. But you got to have patience with yourself. You got to know that not, like, we didn't get to 1,000 on Work to Game for like a year. We didn't get, we got here to 1,000 like within a month, but part of that comes from a boost that I already get because I have a bigger channel. Part of that is just that I focused in on something and I got lucky. I just try to create the best content that I can create. And that's why it's important. So if you're telling yourself you can all you can do is stream because you can't make videos, like, everybody I've talked to with that mindset eventually quits. And I don't want that, because I love the content creation. I love the streaming aspect. I love being able to have videos to watch and different opinions to share. I think that's when hopefully we're at our best when it comes down to it. And again, I'm not trying to be preachy here. I know this video is running long. And so now I want to take us back into focusing in on video editing. And this is just some tips and some things that I put together. use this however you want. If you're not comfortable being on camera, don't be on camera. You know, you can do voiceover. And here's how I do it. Let me just drag. This is going to be a little bit whoa moment that you can see here as I show my face and more. While I'm doing this, in this case, how I'm capturing this, I'm capturing my camera and this. Typically, I just use OBS. I use just my display capture that's going to show my display. Typically, what I'll do is I'll put up my notepad. And what you would see here is just, you know, so when I'm reading, if I'm doing a voiceover, I'm still capturing everything in Streamlabs. I've got my notes, I've got my outline, I've got what I want to share. Sometimes I forget something, but that's because I'm human. I record it, I make sure that this is on, so it's actually capturing in my mic. Then what I do, let me just drag this back over here. And then what I do is I drag and drop this as the base layer for the video itself. So if I start scrubbing, I've got B-roll footage that I put in the second layer. And then I've got my little things that I've, you know, bought and paid for and worked with other artists to kind of help make my videos stand out a little bit more. And I've done that because you guys have watched videos and monetized. So you send my kids to the doctor and you help me come up with this cool transition, which I really like. So thank you very much. But you can see here, in this case, I'm capturing footage, but if it was another video, let's see if I can find another one, Busy Gamer. Yeah, so if I go and I turn off this layer, so you can't see it, I am looking at like my stats, and I should be looking at my script whenever the video and the software decides to catch up with what I'm doing. I don't know. Maybe I deleted that layer. But this is the original video that I ended up making, and I just felt like I could actually make this a lot better. If I go ahead and pick on, you know, like the community feedback for jobs, I can see here, like I'm doing pretty much the same thing that I'm doing in this case, and I'm just layering out these things and moving around. I can't, you know, one of the things of why I'm creating Prime University is to kind of teach people all the video editing tricks and tips that I've learned, but I'm no by means an expert in every little thing. I find that teaching ends up helping me learn a lot more about myself and what I produce at the end of the day. From an audio perspective, I always try to clean up my audio by using the tools. I'm using Adobe Premiere Pro. This is not a video to teach you Adobe Premiere, but this is a video to show you that it's not as hard as you think. The tools that I generally use are the arrow key, and I use then the razor tool. So if I unlock these layers, basically it's a matter of, let me just cut this, delete that. If you ever have a gap, you can just click the gap. You can hit delete, except for not then, because of course not then. Because certain things, that whenever it doesn't have to move heaven and earth, I'll just lock all that. I can hit delete and it's going to shift everything. And that's where you can start worrying about like transitions and fades. Like all of that isn't relevant, especially when you're starting out, especially when you have little to no subscribers. It's about kind of finding your voice. When I go and I play a game that I want to cover, I record that game, either Streamlabs or I capture a clip on my Xbox. I drag that into a folder. It's going to be a lot about organization here. Welcome to organization, because that's going to be your key performance indicator on how you make your life easy. Here's footage and different assets that I've created for games that I'm interested in, and then I just record that and I have that for reference, so I can use what we call as B-roll, so I can drag that over my script that I've written or the news post that I've written, and just overall hopefully have a better like just visual game, a game that follows rule number 1, focusing and I'm pointing you to that game. Like it's about the game, like it's not about me. I don't want you to subscribe to me. I want you to be excited about this game because I'm excited about this game, and that's what I want to share. And hopefully maybe we play this game, maybe you join the community. Like I don't know, like all of that, especially when you look at 1.3 million to 10,000 subscribers, like that seems awesome. Like you could sit here and you could try to, you got to be careful about letting your mind go negative, in the sense that like, oh man, like all these people didn't subscribe. Like, all right, you know what? Like keep inviting them back, keep making content. And if that's the ratio, like 1.3 to 10, like that's great. That means like, hey, you're going to be getting views. You might even get a little extra revenue. And so like while you're working your job, while you're spending time with your family, while you're taking breaks because you do not want to create content every day, find that right balance in your life, that cadence, and you're going to do great and you're going to have fun. And if it ends up creating like a month in which that you bring in an extra $500 or $1,000, like that's fantastic. That's something that can help excite you and help you do a little bit more like with life. And that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about today. Guys, as always, if you have questions, let me know. This isn't about me. I want you, if this video helped you in any way, I know it's long, pay it forward. pay it forward, and I guarantee you that's the right way to go about it. Sure, you can do what people do and make it about themselves, do whatever they can to get attention. Negative attention definitely brings it in, but it's not what's going to build a better gaming community, but it's also not, I think, going to be something that you're proud of at the end of the day, like in 10 years time, 20 years time, whenever you're gone and these videos live as a representation of what you were on this planet. So that's just my thoughts. And that's why I try and live and die by those rules. Now, I know I shared a lot with you, and hopefully you don't think me deceptive or like manipulative in any way, but those are the rules that I created when I first started. So if you actually hopefully start going seeing those videos, you get that feeling from them. And I'm going to always continue to try to make that content and my content that way, with those rules in place. And, you know, part of that is hopefully you can hold me accountable to myself. Like, hey, Brian, was this like, this felt like it was about you, or as opposed to the game or whatnot. Like, that's not what I'm about. And that's, you know, because at the end of the day, I hope that my kids can watch these videos, you know. I hope my grandkids or my great-grandkids, you know, if they're watching this and they're like, oh, that was, you know, Grandpa Brian, or I prefer Grandpa Flash. I don't know why. So anyway, you heard it here first. That's going to be kind of what it's about. And that's what I have to share with you guys. And I just want to say I love you. I love your faces. Hopefully this was helpful. If you stuck with the whole hour pretty much, you are just a champion beyond champions. And again, don't subscribe to me. Like, find, you know, if this works for you, help others out. And that's all I want. Anyway, like I said, I love you. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. This video is sponsored by me. If you guys like podcast and long form content, I hope you check out Ginger Gaming Radio. Link will be in the description of this video below. So if you're still watching this video, thank you, and check out the new channel for more content, and hopefully you enjoy. Thank you.